For any of you watching this after East, hey, I'm sorry, I just realized I forgot to change the frame on the last one, so all the battles are like way zoomed out. So, my bad on that. But in any case, welcome back to the ABL review of Season 18 West Division. This is for week 5? 5. We got all the battles done in the West Division this week. There's a couple of things, you know, I've said it before. West Division doesn't have quite as many like exciting battles as the East Division has. I think in terms of like parity of competition, they're doing a pretty good job over there. But in terms of doing all of the battles and not having Pokemon faint to Life Orb, we're leading by leaps and bounds. A leap would be 1, but bounds 2. You can keep track. So anyways, let's hop into the battles, and as usual, I'm going to start with my battle just because I don't think it's quite as interesting, and I have stuff to say about it, but I also don't want to lose. So, let's hop into it. Oh boy, that was a little bit faster than I was anticipating. I have struggled with ground types all season. People who are playing me probably have realized that. And I decided I'm not struggling with Quagsire. I've been playing this game for nearly 8 seasons in League format. Or sorry, not 8 seasons, I've been playing for 16 seasons, nearly 8 years in League format, excuse me. And I'm not dealing with Quagsire, especially because just generally with my team, not a good matchup. So get the fuck out of here, Quagsire. Caught him off guard with that, which by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I think this is probably the best way to use Terra. It just, in my personal opinion, is surprise KOs. If your team is offensive, you want to get those surprise KOs. If you got defense, oh geez, I almost did the thing that I was avoiding doing last. Here's properly framed footage for you guys. Because I've been doing this for, 8 years. Anyways, this is what a battle should look like, right? You guys all know that. Anyways, yeah, I think, personally, that is what I think is the best offensive use of Terra. Just get those big surprise KOs. Don't try to use it as an opportunity to set up. I think that's the best use of Terra. Goes into Torkoal here. I'm very suspicious, because especially because he gives me this photosynthesis boost. I could absolutely, or excuse me, there it goes. Just could just go for Earth Power here. But I'm just I maybe is gonna go into Slitherwing or maybe go into Mismagius, but I really don't know why he's gonna do that. I'm just gonna Volt Switch just to be safe. I can hit either of those pretty hard, and Torkoal, I just don't think he's gonna leave it in. He brings no Skull Golem, which resists my move, so he's still gonna take a pretty good amount of damage because I'm max offensive and I got that synthesis boost. Speaking to my point of getting surprise KOs, the Terra's Fairy hits me with a Terra Blast, KOs Cyclozar there. Cyclozar was kind of it was more of a utility Pokemon here, so I'm not torn up about losing it, but that was a big surprise KO there. I didn't think I was gonna pull that out, so it really caught me off guard. I'm gonna follow up with Volcarona because I can resist anything he goes for here, and I can pick up the KO with Flame. Very happy about that. I could have Quiver Danced up. I kind of wish I would have, but I didn't think at the time. It's a Shadow Ball here. It's a Shadow Ball crit here. Little salty about that. I've had some bad luck in recent weeks with some Pokemon going down when I was hoping they wouldn't have. This was very hard not to get salty, but you know what? I'm still in a good position. So I'm going to go in here in the Roaring Moon. A big way to threaten this out. And you know what? I get the Crunch KO right away. Very happy about that. Roaring Moon has a pretty good matchup following the rest of this, but obviously this is going to be a big old first impression coming out, and I'm not going to deal with it very well. I did consider running like a Expert Belt Protect set to try to get around this, but that seemed a little bit too niche. So swapped out to Volcarona here, trying to get that Flame Body burn. Based on that damage, definitely baited, had to switch out, easy Morning Sun back up, all the way to full. Torkoal's not a huge threat to me, so I am going to try to Quiver Dance up on it, but of course he pulls out the Yawn. Yawn is one of the most annoying moves in Pokemon. Not like an amazing move, but it's so annoying. Get really good damage off of that Torkoal, but obviously I still don't. Roaring Moon to go to sleep, so Rona. I catch a Slitherwing, that's great. This is what I was designed to try to take on. Quick Quiver Dance here. I know that he's not going to be faster than my Volcarona, and I can easily clean up from... even with the Scarf Golden Go, I was a little worried that he was going to be Choice Scarf, which he obviously was, and I did even calc for a crit, but I figured if he crit, then I can just go into Roaring Moon. I think I could clean up from that point. So, thankfully at this point, even if I got bad luck and got crit there, then I had a way out. So I've talked a lot about me in this, because it is my battle, so obviously I'm a little biased, but let's talk about some of the stuff Mitch did. With the amount of, you know, I got a fire Pokemon and 1, 2, 3 past Paradox Pokemon, I probably would have been reluctant to bring Torkoal to this battle. I think Slitherwing was the right call to bring to this. I don't think I would have brought Banded because of Volcarona. Like, Slitherwing was the biggest threat to my team. It was like the perfect counter to Roaring Moon. I probably wouldn't have brought Banded. I think that was maybe a mistake. Scovillain's interesting because he had mentioned to me that he wanted to get rid of Scovillain and then didn't do it in transactions this week. Spoilers for transactions. I think he let Torkoal take too much damage when he switched it in on that crunch a long time ago. That was at a point. And then, yeah, I think he was really set back, though, when he lost to Quagsire, especially because he didn't think I'd Terra so quick. I do think it's that, you know, sometimes, especially with Terrestrialization, this is something I was worried about when we set the rules for it. I just feel like it's a big domino effect where it's like, as long as I have this one Pokemon, this can check, you know, X Pokemon can check Y Pokemon. Good. And then the dominoes start to fall, and that Pokemon has coverage you weren't expecting. But I think that pretty much wraps up this battle. I don't have much more to say because, you know, I feel like I've covered it all. Big fan of Volcarona. I'm glad I got to show off what it can do here because I think it's a very good Pokemon. Well, let's move on to our next game. This was the final battle? Penultimate battle? This is the penultimate battle to go up this week, and the final battle for the West that week. So let's hop into this. I'm going to keep this moving fast. Leads off with Noivern getting the damage on Fortress. Now, I do want to say, Drew, I like kind of what he has done with his team. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to hop back over the Google Sheet and go to Drew. So, some stuff he's got going on that I think he's stuck on a concept for the team. And he's not, I feel like that's probably a bad thing in draft. So, he's really stuck on this concept of go out with Fortress, it's a suicide lead, use Fortress to get up Toxic Spikes, these spikes, and then we're going to have Gengar with Hex/Venoshock, trying to really put the, you know, put the hammer. Which, from a concept point, I think is beautiful in its simplicity. But I do think that he ends up getting hamstrung against a certain Pokemon. He brings King Gambit a lot just because, you know, it's raw power and I think it pairs well with Gengar. 100% believe that. That's why I had Bisharp and Gengar on the same team. 12, 13. He's got Iron Hands to break down other Steel types. I think that's smart. Like, I from a concept point, like what he did. So let's jump back to the actual battle. Nope, this is not the right battle. My bad. Don't look at any of that stuff. Got a lot of that going on here. He's got the Charizard to deal with Steel here, which is unfortunately not great for Magneton. I think he's getting caught too much up on the concept, like I said, and needs to focus more on... These feel like teams that could be made for any combination of 6 Pokemon that anybody would. Like, just general use team. This might do better on the latter than it would do in the format. I feel like these aren't tailored to specific prep styles. And you know what? I'm going to drop a new soundbite that I made. I thought it was appropriate. Sorry, everyone. So here we go. Teachable moment. because there's a couple in this week that I wanted to highlight there. So thank you for bearing with me in weird vanity teachable moments, because that's not going to be the only one. Anyways, back to the battle. Noivern's in a good spot here, gets off a bunch of damage on Fortress, and able to U-turn there. Yeah, Toxic Spikes are up right now, they're not showing up. And right now Dakota's just got Drew in what we call the Vortex most of the time. Just, you know, Volt Switch U-turn. And you either get good damage off, especially if you can pivot around the right moves. But with no ground type, Volt Switches are going to happen a lot. U-turn's a little bit harder to deal with, but a worse offensive type. So you're just going to be taking chip. But Drew just stays in, eats the damage, which I think was probably the right call in this. Getting back, but here's what happens with Garganac right now, okay? As it stands. Few ways to deal with Garganackle. We're going to show, you're going to see a little bit of them. King Gambit could potentially come in, but Garganackle very commonly carries Body Press, so I understand Drew's reluctance to do so. Could go into Slow King, but also Salt Cure does 25% residual damage to water types. Understand the reluctance. Fortress is going to be dead if it takes a Salt Cure, or a Body Press for that. So I kind of understand what's going on here. I don't understand is Solar Beam. Solar Beam is used in, I'd say, I was going to see if I could stretch a third, but no, there's only 2 situations in which you use Solar Beam. Never mind. There's 3, but one of them is not relevant to this generation of Pokemon play, so we'll just stick to the 2. 1, you're on a Sun team, and you can just fire off Solar Beams willy-nilly, 120 base power, no drawback. That's why if Sun is up, but it does. Second reason to run it is you're running the item Power Herb, and you can turn that 2-turn move into a 1-turn. That's not what happens here. It would have gone off already. I don't hate the concept, because I think if this had hit, it would have done a significant amount of damage. Maybe not enough to KO it or justify this 84% plus the residual damage, because this is also Leftovers Charizard. Which I don't particularly, but you know, it kept him slightly out of the weeds in this one. So cutting back. Yeah, so Solar Beam goes off. Now, this is nitpicky, but we do end up seeing Garganackle's Terra type later in the battle, so I guess I'll bring it up. It was Terra Flying. He could have terastallized and taken very little damage and probably just stayed in and set up against this Charizard here. Probably could have netted him the win right there. So maybe a weird call by Dakota, but a very conservative call, because he's like, oh, I don't want to burn my Terra early, which I get. So that's very nitpicky. We're going to defog the Toxic Spikes right here. You turn out. Good use of Noivern in this battle. Blocks the Thunder Wave there. Also very good. Easy Volt Switch here. No, Thunderbolt. We just follow that up into another Thunderbolt. I don't get the Terra on Drew's part there, because you just saw him Thunderbolt. Best case scenario, he doesn't want to take the Sucker Punch damage, and he hard switches to Ting. I guess maybe that's what you're hoping for, but just do that then, because he's still not going to want, like, if that was there's no point to terastallize on that specific turn into a Terra Flying. I just don't get that. Gengar's coming in, going to go for the Will-O-Wisp. This also works good in combination with Hex, which we kind of talked about, I think is what his concept was. Like, look, that did really good damage. You got Noivern pretty low. Gonna have to U-turn out, because also now he can't possibly Air Slash flinch you, but it's gonna follow up with Garganackle, who's resistant to Ghost type moves. There's another thing he's gonna learn about Garganackle's ability to find Salt. I mean, anybody who knows, you know how Salt works. It keeps ghosts away. You've seen at least the first 3 seasons of Supernatural. You know this. So he does seem to be aware of that fact, and he's going to go into Slow King. Slow King, like we talked about earlier, is going to take 25% from this Salt Cure after this. But the other effect he learns about is Thunder Waving Garganackle. Garganackle is, I think, like we talked about in the season, like we talked about in this, a very challenging Pokemon to deal with, because its ability is so good. Not only does it have this random ghost resistance, but also immunity to all status whether it be from Thunder Wave or Nuzzle or Flame Body. Any of those things will not allow it to be statused. It cannot be statused, barring some very specific like workarounds that involve ignoring its ability. Mold Breaker, Mycelium Might, somebody used Worry Seed on it, something like that. So just something to be aware of. You know, this is another one of those. Hang on. Teachable moment. See? Look at that. I had it queued up. I was ready for it. So yeah, you see the 25% from Salt Cure obviously forces him up. It's a good opportunity for Garganackle to curse up. You see the Earthquake come out. I think that was a good scout by okay. Here's the other problem. There's a good scout rather by Drew there. See the Focus Blast come out to 50%. So Solar Beam, I think Solar Beam's 130 base power. I might be wrong. It might also be 110, but then that still begs the question: would you make it 110 with 70 accuracy? I just feel like that's like weirdly balanced. But could have used Focus Blast earlier when you chewed that 84% damage or whatever it was. I feel like that would have been worth it, but also another thing is Dakota still could have, like, all the hits he's taken thus far with Garganackle are moves he would have taken less damage on if he had just Terrestrialized. So I still don't know why he's saving. Garg's not really a good spot here. Nothing coming in except maybe a very strong water attack from Slowking could KO Garganackle. Again, he just refuses to turn into a flying type. He even does it for another couple of turns here. But I don't really understand what's going on there. Glad he got the Salt Cure off, but now he finally decides to Terrestrialize into a took a lot more damage on the HP front than he did. But he is taking the opportunity to up a little bit more, which I do like. Not that it's super necessary, just because he doesn't need more attack damage from Garganackle. It's all going to be Salt Cure. Earthquake is already going to KO, so not necessary, but you know. Setting up Toxic Spikes is moot at this point. This Garganackle has no better switch, and Drew might, but also, so I'm not going to fault him. Like, hey, you did an unnecessary move. Like, I don't know what BB is. Some you know, hip person out there could let me know what BB is. I know what GG is. I got that down. I've got that figured out, but I don't know what the BB is. Clothing. But that begs the question, why would you bring it up here? So let's move on to our third battle of the week. We've got the Kalamazoo Kabutops taking on the New York Aqua Jets. So that is Chris versus Zach. Zach's been on a tear. Chris has been struggling a little bit. We might play that jingle that I've made in a little bit here. So let's hop into this. Put it on fast speed. This goes for a while. And by the way, just look at this. Isn't this just the most XYOU picture you've ever seen? Right? Just a flashback to a simpler time, you know, back in 2014. Oh yeah, look at that, the good old days. With a leftovers Talonflame, which probably, I think we saw Banded Talonflame a lot back in those days, but not heavy duty boots, I think, is the important takeaway from it. There's a reason you see fire flying types, this also goes out to Drew, running heavy duty boots all the time. Because Stealth Rocks is a very common part of competitive Pokemon. Those Pokemon take 50% damage on switch in. I myself have a Pokemon that's 4 times weak to Stealth Rocks. You better bet that I will be carrying heavy duty boots on that Pokemon. I don't want to say 100% of the time. Maybe there's a game where I'm super confident they're either gonna A, not set up rocks, or B, I'm gonna be able to keep them away. So I'll say 99% of the time you're gonna see heavy duty boots on those. Talonflame maybe a little bit lower because of acrobatics and whatnot, but I digress. This is just something to take away here. So Hydreigon comes in, good switch there, I like that a lot. Bad matchup for Hydreigon, admittedly, but I like what Chris, oh never mind, later I guess. Rock Slide come out, knock off, doing some damage, U-turn out, he brings in the Talonflame, obviously gonna scare that out, probably bring in the Rotom again, but no, he actually goes out into Donphan. Probably because he's recognized Donphan can A, wall this, and B, get up those stealth runs. This is obviously going to force out Rotom. Yeah, pretty decent damage. Colwitz's just a pretty strong opponent. Dragon's going to come back in, taking a little bit more chip than I think you'd like to see. Okay, here we go. Grasslands into Steel Type. I think this is a really good call. You're obviously worried that he's going to... Well, because he showed that he would go for Rock Slide before. You're going to resist that. He is about to click Knockoff, I believe, right? Yeah, that's the Knockoff. It's rid of your Choice Scarf. That's actually, I'd say, good for it. Having the ability to switch it was probably better in this matchup, just one man's opinion. Unfortunate critical hit, because we'll kind of see how things go later. Let's slow it down a bit. Fire Blast, 40%. So if he hadn't crit this turn, he would have done... That come out to, I should have probably done the math before I stopped to talk about things. What about 24%? Would have done 24%, 17. He would have had about 14% left, so he would have been out of range of an additional knockoff here. Which I guess also, but he would have. But here's the thing, he wouldn't have been at 5%. That's a big thing. Oh, one of the reasons I made the teachable moment thing was because of. Okay, we'll get back to it, okay? So Iron Treads is going to come in, that makes sense. Block what's going on here. George Costanza, the Donphan's going to come in, throw off okay, I Spinner I get, but I'm lower on Iron Treads than I used to be, just because I feel like it lacks so much on the offensive side. I don't know where we have a team. I feel like we have it in Platinum. I personally, you guys can all consider this too. Maybe it might need to bump down to Gold tier. I'm not a big fan of it offensively. Very good support Mon, but maybe I'm missing out on. Rivera comes in, cleans up this KO. A good opportunity there. Skeledirge come in now. What I was gonna say, which I still kind of stand by. Should have just gone into Hydreigon. Okay, Hydreigon has little to no use right now because it's gonna come in. Oh no, I was right. This is a teachable moment, which I guess we'll get to. But if you had gone into Hydreigon, then this Torch Song would, because you would have come in, you would have taken 6% from Stealth Rocks, and you would have fainted. That means this Torch Song doesn't have a target. This Hydreigon's actually already dead. You can't tell. This is maybe Schrodinger's Hydreigon. It's alive as long as it doesn't hit the field, but as soon as it's on the field, it's dead. So as long as it's here in the back, you can consider it both alive and dead. And you can't use it without it being... It's technically... So, if he had just gone hard into Hydreigon, he wouldn't have taken 2 Torch Songs and put it 2 special attacks. Because there you go. A dead Hydreigon, like we talked about. That's another one of those. Teachable moment. Good. Okay, there we go. I should stop that. Yeah, just, you gotta know that. You gotta learn that. I think we've all done that at some point in time. But it's just, you would have been in a better position because the Skeledirge wouldn't be quite the threat that it is now. Braviary come in. Pretty good damage with that Brave Bird, but at this point, he's just going to be able to kind of stay out of range here. This Bravey's going to keep weakening itself from the recoil damage. I like seeing the Roost come out here, but it's a little too late. It's a Survivor reference. I don't pretty much know that I've gotten that, but you know, just if you want to talk to me about Survivor, I'd be happy to talk. Big fan. But this Skeledirge is going to kind of be able to hang out. We see this Ice Punch come off. He's fishing for the freeze. I can respect that. This is why Fire Flying types carry heavy defense, because of this reason exactly. Just barely misses out on the KO here. And Skeledirge has a hell of a week. Skeletor's was a Pokemon I wasn't super high on going into the season, but very high on it. Very impressed with how Zach's been used. Shame we haven't seen it from Oakland over on the other side of things. But I think it's time to move on to our marquee match of the week.
Marquee match of the week. Now we have a theme.
Our marquee match of the week this week is Darren and the Detroit Dragapults Fun Alliteration taking on Mike and the Washington Commanders Good Name. So this one I'm gonna probably just put on. I'm gonna at certain points put on hyper fast, and we're just gonna run with it, guys, because this is a lengthy one. But I do think it. I think there's some good plays in here that we talk about. So let's hop into it first. If I've said it once, I've said it 100. Knowledge is power. Ditto, good here, but the only problem is it only gets to learn one set because of good counter planning by Mike here. He knows in this matchup his low kicks can win and beat the other Ditto. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if all of his Pokemon were specifically designed to be able to deal with a Ditto. You know what? Looking over this, yes, all of them were. Ditto was not doing anything in this match, and that's because Mike planned for it. Moving on. I've got Oricorio Pom Pom coming in. Not a great, low kicks isn't a great setup fodder because look how much it takes from a resisted hit. That's how Tinted Lens works. Got the Baton Pass into the Iron Maw. I like what Darren's going for here. Actually, let's say, let's let this Cork Drive pop. There we go. The problem is Haze comes out. You have an unaware Pokemon in Cloud Cycle. And here's the good thing. Second, stats reset, but you don't lose that Quark Drive. That's something that what I have seen referred to as an under-the-hood boost. It's the same sort of thing you'd get from Solar Power from Charge, which we see come in this battle. It's things that aren't stat boosts, so it's boosts that kind of bypass unaware. Pretty powerful thing when you're going against an unaware Pokemon. If you could, because Choice Band is another, Choice Band, Life Orb, those sort of things are more of those under-the-hood boosts that can't be unaware and can't be hazed. Darren sent me his team 10 to 15 minutes before the battle, and he had Psychic on this modest Iron Moth, and it also had Terra Psychic, which I had the calc up earlier, does like 69 to 81% minimum to maximum specially defensive Clodsire. Very potent, would have put him in a great spot in this match, especially if he still had that Quiver Dance, because from there, he would really put the hurt on the rest of his team. Bar the Armor Rouge, because that is Max Spadef Assault Vest. Again, good planning by Mike, but we'll get back to that later. So I don't know what happened, because he says here in the chat that his Terra type didn't change. He showed me after the battle it had somehow reverted to Bug. Don't know how that happened, because I had a copy of the team that had it as Terra Psychic. So, bizarre. Oricorio is going to Quiver Dance here and pass it to Dondozo, and this is where we're going to go hyper fast. Because Mike doesn't have a good way to deal with this Dondozo, but also this Dondozo is just going to end up sitting here for a while and taking a good chunk of damage. But let's break down some of the problems here. So, see Rest, we're about to see Sleep Talk here in a second. I guess I'll just let it run. In a perfect world, especially with this Dondozo ever terrestrialized into a fairy type, right? Because we know that's going to happen. In a perfect world, let's say you rest and you don't click Sleep Talk, right? And you then maybe get off 2 moves before you have to rest again, okay? Rest only has 8 PP in this generation, so that means you can burn 5 PP of your opponents every time you click Rest, okay? Everyone follow that, because you can click 2 other moves, Rest, Sleep for 2 turns, click other moves, Rest, Sleep for 2 turns. You can burn 5 PP by doing that, okay? But you can do it 8 times, so you can burn 40 PP total before you run out of rests. That's, I think my math adds up there. Maybe the president numbers can weigh in. Belly Bolt, though, only the 2 moves it showed, Discharge and Parabolic Charge, totaling 56. So, and plus Parabolic Charge makes it healthier over time, so it doesn't even need to dip into its slack offs, and it ends up showing Muddy Water here a bit. So I do think that it, this is not a good move by Darren. And also, him clicking Sleep Talk here is actually bad for him because he's burning more PP. Sleep Talk's bad for him. If he was like rest, Sleep Talk, curse, then it's worth clicking Sleep Talk because you're getting boosts. But then also there's still that Clodsire on the other side of the field. Just gonna come in and haze you, so you're gonna lose those boosts. Darren's in a bad spot here. Thankfully he doesn't get like fucked with Paras here. Or he got Paras. He does have rest to be able to right though. 2 Paras in a row. Unfortunate, but rest there and it's fine. Honestly, him being paired is good for him because he burns less PP. Oh, let's run it back here, okay? Because some important stuff is happening right here. It brings an Oricorio. You know, it takes some damage. It takes the rocks damage too, but it's able to live, right? And it's gonna go for the defog. This is good for a reason we're gonna get to now, because this Dragonite doesn't actually have heavy duty boots, as most Dragonites for the past 4 years have had. It has Lumberry, which does allow it to be able to set up on Belly Bolt. So I'm in favor of this move. Okay? Dragon Dance here, yeah, sure, you're risking a discharge pair, but you have the Lumberry, so you can actually afford. I would have liked to see him Dragon Dance again here, because sure, discharge is going to do what, 28% or 60%. Why did I do so much? Because discharge only did 14%. Oh, because of the charge, right? So it would have done 28% if you Dragon Danced again. Now, this Ice Spinner here, let's talk about this. Because what this Ice Spinner is a, hey, I want to hit the incoming unaware Pokemon as hard as I can. Let's run over to a quick calc here, okay? We'll do this together. Hold on, sheets there. That's the framing of it. It's not actually in Google Sheets. Do Dragonite, okay? Do the offensive Dragon Dance set, which I think this is similar to. We'll throw Ice Spinner on there, okay? Because that's weirdly not there. I think it's normal. Clodsire, defensive Clodsire that's fully Spadef. Ice Spinner does 63%. So, if that had paid off, if he had hit the incoming Clodsire, that's amazing. That would have been so good. He would have been in such a good position, because he also would have potentially hit an incoming Dragapult, which we never saw in this battle. I really like what he did here. The Ice Spinner was a good call, but as I've said in past podcasts, which are available on SoundCloud, you can go back and listen to them if you want to, but what seems weird, especially if you weren't in the season. Sometimes you have to make a move that, if it pays off, is a genius move. You have to do this when you're playing from the back, which Darren is big time right now. If this paid off, oh, let's fix the framing. It would have been a genius move, right? He would have hit the Clodsire for 60-something%. Clodsire either would have had to switch out and something else would have had to take the Ice Spinner. Or, you know, it just would have been dead. And then he could have followed up with an Earthquake on this, a Fire Punch on the Earthquake on this, Fire Punch on the Corviknight, Earthquake on the Armarouge, any move on the low kicks, and Dragapult might have gone down to an Ice Spinner. I don't think you're faster than the Dragapult, depending. But that's why he went for Ice Spinner here, and I support that move. I think I would have more supported going for, but the problem is, also, I mean, you can see here, Earthquake would have done 79% of the Clodsire coming in. So this is, I guess, a weird half measure to try to hit Corviknight too. I don't know. I think he overreached here. I think the Dragonite set is good against this team. But I still support what he did here. It may have been too big of a swing, I'd say. But let's let the rest of the battle go out here, because we just even go for the Earthquake here. It doesn't work out. Imagine if you go for Fire Punch there, because it does almost 50%. Maybe a Snag a Burn, maybe a Snag a Crit, something like that. Maybe you get lucky, and this Corviknight could go down. But it doesn't happen here. And at this point, Iron Moth is totally walled by this Armarouge and the Clodsire. This Spiritomb can't do much of anything. So we're just going to put it on a Hyper Fast and let it roll out. I think, first of all, I've been really impressed with Belly Bolt this season. I kind of underestimated it as a defensive electric type. It's just not something you see, but because it doesn't have a lot of, it only has the one weakness. but it's a common weak. It doesn't have a lot of resist. It only resists flying and electric. I think that's it. But the thing is, it only has the one weakness. So everything else, there's 18 types in the game. 15 of them are hitting it neutrally. So it can wall a lot of offensive stuff if it doesn't carry Earthquake, and you can find that sweet spot there. But I like what he did here. And as we talked about, like, this Dragapult probably would have been able to find Ditto. This Corviknight, just what we've seen on it, Ditto can't beat this Corviknight. Ditto can't beat this Bellibolt. Ditto can't beat this Clodsire. Could it? Yeah, but also if it was choice, it could have easily switched. Armarouge can't. The Armarouge couldn't beat this Armarouge. And low kicks he designed to make it to be able to beat the Ditto. Mike knocked it out of the park in terms of planning. Darren could have played a little bit better. He got caught off guard big time. But I really do like I think there's definitely good things to have been done here. Overall, I don't think this isn't Darren's worst game he played. When he choked away that against Chris, that may have been his worst game that he's played in a few seasons. But Mike played really well here. He planned really well. I want to give him a lot of credit for this. And that's why I made this marquee match of the week. There's a lot of really good stuff in here from both sides, even though it's an absolute walloping by Mike. So let's head back over to the Google Doc and let's talk about the MVPs of the week, which Bellibolt got 4 KOs. Volcarona also did, and Garganacl also did, but Brett's right. Come on, it's a Bellibolt. Like, that's crazy that a Bellibolt got 4 KOs this week. Well done. Ironmouth, despite having a very down week, still is at the top of the leaderboard. Bellibolt sneaking right up behind it. Much more defensive over here, at least as far as KO games go. You got Skeledirge, Bellibolt, Florges. Golden Go has been taking a lot of hits. I feel like we haven't seen it very offensive. Very different league over here. Also, Life Orb hasn't gotten any kills. Maybe that's part of the problem. That's why we don't have these offensive juggernauts up at the top. Dondoza, Fortress, Gengar, Iron Treads, and King Gambit all have fainted in every match they've come to. What team is Iron Treads on? I've forgotten. Treads is Kalamazoo. Yeah, so 3 teams, only 3 teams represented here. Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. Let's take a look at the standing. So Zach has clinched a first round bye. Zach's the only person we can say definitively. I think it's the only person. No, Brett is in the other league. Zach and Brett definitively in the ABL North next season will be playing in the final playoffs. They can skip last chance week, opening round week. So they're going to have 2 weeks off. They're going to play 2 weeks here, have 2 weeks off, and then 3 weeks of playoffs. If they don't lose, who's to say? We have 4 teams all at 3-2. Very tight race here, and I think we even have conflicting tiebreakers. Like, I have wins over Washington and Michigan, but then London has a tiebreaker over me, and then these 2 haven't played yet. So that could be very interesting. I think they might play this week. As I said, over in the East, you have to be as many weeks as there are remaining. You have to be that many games up and own a tiebreaker. And Salem does not yet have a tiebreaker owned over them by Detroit. So that means they're still mathematically in playoffs. If Darren loses 2 games, one of which is to Salem, it will go to. Then they will. Like, Drew has to win out. Darren would have to lose out. If that happens, then Darren's going to jump him in the standings. Now, I think that doesn't necessarily guarantee him playoffs, because I think Chris would also have to lose. No, because he would have to lose, because they haven't played yet. So yeah, Drew, you got to win out, and Darren has to lose out. That's your only hope. That's how you get into playoffs. Chris, Chris only has to have 1 more win than Drew. So he's not, like, 1 win doesn't guarantee him in, but if 1 win and a Drew loss, I think might put him in. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong there, but playoffs is still a hope for you. I think that's all we can talk about really in standings. Let's head over the schedule and see how many of those are relevant. Mitch, I think, is probably mathematically in playoffs. And Zach, like we talked about, has locked up a spot in the North and in playoffs in a first-round bye. Zach doesn't really have anything to play for in these last 2 games, so he can do whatever he wants. Mitch, I think, is going to be in the postseason one way or another. So I think maybe he might mess around a little bit. Who knows? Washington versus London. A lot of jockeying for position there because, like we've talked about, let's head over the standings. These 2 spots, automatic 2-week bye. These 2 spots only have to win 1 game to go to playoff. These 2 spots have to win 2 games to go to playoffs. So really want to try to finish as high as you can. There's really no point in taking weeks off, especially for like Mitch is going to want to stay out of these spots. You just want to win 1 game in the playoff. That's the goal there. So these late season games are still pretty important, except for second round. 7 versus Detroit, we talked about that already. Both teams' playoff hopes, postseason hopes, lie in the balance. Brooklyn versus Kalamazoo. I still want to get wins so that way I can take 2 weeks off. And Chris is still very much in the playoff race, especially with like a big win like that. A win means he only has to, he could either win 1 game or hope to Darren loses a game. A win's very big for Chris here. Still has postseason hopes. And then there was no changes there were no transactions here in the East. Trade deadline went came and gone. Only next round of transactions is the last opportunity for teams to make changes before playoffs. So keep that in mind because Mitch, Drew, Zach still have all your transactions left. You can react to anything that's going on, and that'll be good. But I just want to wrap this up. I want to say thank you to Brett for making the document. Thank you to D24 Designs for making, just 4 of the logos. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And thank you, Logan didn't make any jingles for this episode, but thank you for him and for making jingles in the past. That about wraps it up. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.